What's up guys, Chris here from Mainely Mesh. Today I'm going to teach you how to string a top string. What you're going to need for this tutorial is an unstrung lacrosse head, piece of mesh, and a sidewall string. First off, in case you guys get confused, sidewall, top string, nowadays they're more or less the same material. It used to be in the old days, top string was super thick. That was back in the days of like traditional. But basically any piece of lacrosse string is going to do the trick here. First we're going to need to tie our starter knot. Bunch of different ways to do this. How I like to do it is just make something nice, big, and ugly. So I'm gonna hold the string in my left hand, I'm gonna wrap it around once, wrap it around twice, and then go back up through, tie my knot tight. Next, I'm going to need to identify a 9-diamond row on this piece of mesh. Every piece of mesh has two sides. One side is going to have 10 diamonds running across, the other is going to have 9 diamonds running across. So if you pull the mesh out and you count across, you're going to see that one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We don't want that side. We want the side with 9, which you can see has slightly thicker adjoining edges and has 9 across. Most people are going to tell you to fold this piece down so you have two 9-diamond rows on top of each other. I'm actually going to teach you guys how to do it without folding. A, the fold actually isn't necessary anymore, and B, it's a lot easier to learn that way, and then you guys can fold after. So this will make your education process a little bit more quick, and then you can fold if you feel the need to afterwards. Well, I'm going to talk over this so I can explain what's going on. It's not easy to try to string and explain what I'm doing to a video. First, what we're trying to do here is we are lining up the 9-diamond row to the second sidewall hole. So you can see I've got that thicker section of the 9-diamond row and I'm lining it up with the second sidewall hole. To be clear here, guys, and I'll explain this in the theory thing, it depends on which head you're using, whether you use the first or the second sidewall hole. Basically, my rule of thumb is spread the 9-diamond row across evenly. You don't need to pull it too tight. It doesn't need to be too loose. It doesn't really matter that much. It's not going to be make or break. For this purpose, I'm using a Tactic 2.0. I'm using the second sidewall hole. But sometimes it's the first. So once you enter from the outside with your string, you're going to go right up through the first diamond in that 9-diamond row and pull it all the way tight. Then you are going to you're going to loop back around and go through again on the left-hand side. So when I say left-hand side, I mean the upper side. And once you have that little loop, you're going to pull that tight, making sure you don't catch that knot in the process. But once you pull that tight, you can see we are on top of the mesh facing us, right? You can loop it around another time if you'd like. You don't have to, just depends on what you're doing. From there, you're going to go back down the second diamond of that 9-diamond row and pull that through. So you can see we've got our loop and we've gone up and over. At this point, we're gonna flip the head back towards us. So the inside of the head is facing us. It's gonna make life a little bit easier. I'm gonna pull it tight again just to make sure I get all the slack out. From there, you can see I've got that little mesh bridge thing that I just pointed to. I wanna line that up directly with the hole above it. From there, I'm gonna go down through that hole with the string and then around the back side of the mesh. So I've gone down through that sidewall hole, bringing the string around the back and then up through the mesh diamond from the back side. As I pull this through, it's very important that the lead end of the string is on top of the trail. So as you can see there, that lead section is on top. If that's not the case, when I pull this tight here, it's not going to be snug. It's going to slip through, won't actually form an interlock. Then you can also see everything is to the right of that mesh bridge as I tighten everything up. That's what I'm pointing to right there. Everything's to the right. From here, I'm going to go down once again through that same mesh diamond around the back side again and then start pulling through. You can see I've created this loop here. I want to go down through that loop, and then before I tighten everything up, this is very important, I'm going to pull the right side of that string to pull out any slack there. I'm going to pinch with my back hand so nothing comes loose, and then I'm going to pull down tight so I have a nice solid hitch knot. Boom, one done. Time for the second one though. We're gonna go down through that same mesh hole, skipping the third mesh diamond, okay? So I'm going down around the third one and then up through that fourth. So that string is traversing along the back side of the mesh. Once again, I'm going to line up that little mesh bridge tip with the next top string hole. Notice I've skipped one, so I'm using the first and the third here. Depends on what head you're using, but typically you're gonna go first and third. Once again, I'm going down through the top string hole, around the back side of the mesh, making sure the lead is on top of the trail part of the string. I'm gonna pull it a little bit tighter now. What you're gonna notice is every head's spacing of these top string holes is a little bit different, so it can be a little bit finicky. Your knot does not need to be in the middle of each top string hole. Sometimes it helps having it to the outside or the inside. Basically, all we're looking for here is a nice even fit. Sometimes you're gonna achieve that, sometimes you're not. I'm looking at you, Nike CEO. So once I pull that first section tight, I'm once again going down through that same mesh diamond, around the back of the head, up through that scoop hole, and then I am bringing that string down through that loop again. Okay, so that string goes down through the loop. Once again, I pause here, I pull the right side of the loop, pinch the back side with my finger, and then pull everything tight to get that second hitch knot. Okay, starting to pick up speed. We're going down through the same mesh hole, skipping the fifth diamond, coming up through the sixth diamond here. So we're traversing along the back side of the mesh again. I'm gonna go down through that scoop hole, up through the mesh hole from behind again to the right side of that mesh bridge. I'm gonna pull that a little bit tight. I'm gonna go down through the same mesh hole again, around the back, up through and down through that big loop that I've made, pausing to pull tension on the right side of the loop first, pinching with the back, pulling down through for a nice tight hitch. And if I pause right here, guys, you're gonna see once again how there's more tension on that right side of the mesh where I have to pull things further apart. There's less tension in that middle section there. That's purely because of the design of the distance between these scoop holes. Isn't going to affect your stick that much, well, really at all. You're not gonna feel it, okay? Don't freak out. But people will do different things to make things more even, but this is the basics, very straightforward. This is how I would even string this stick, okay? But foreshadowing, this means we're probably gonna need to pull that same amount of tension on the other side of the stick as we finish this out, so things might look like they're spaced a little less evenly than they actually are. So I'm gonna go down through that same mesh hole, traverse along the back side, and up through, this time it's gonna be the eighth mesh hole. I'm gonna go down through the scoop hole again, up through behind of that eighth mesh hole. And notice here, I kind of have to take a second and pull the mesh even. My hand is really in the way here. Gotta pull the mesh even because things are shifted a little bit. So I'm gonna pull that right side of the loop first. Yes, I'm skipping a half step where I looped down through the mesh hole and up around behind, pinching with the left hand, pulling everything tight. Now here it gets a little bit funky as I've paused and let you see where we are. We're gonna go down through the same mesh hole. So the eighth, we're gonna go up through the ninth here, just to mirror the other side. And then from here, I'm gonna enter from the inside out of that second sidewall hole. So whichever one I entered through, I gotta make sure I exit at the same time with the head facing me. Okay, this part can get a little uneven for people, but now I have it exactly like I have it on the other side. Okay, so I just need to form that loop. And in order to do that, I'm going to bring the string down underneath the trail end, so the lead is going underneath as I enter back through that mesh hole. So once again, you can see I've put the string underneath to the right side of that second sidewall. I'm gonna pinch to hold everything tight, and then I've got my nice loop formed there. Now to finish it off, what I need to do is do a double overhand knot. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm looping this string around once, and notice how I'm gonna use my left hand here to kind of push that whole knot down as close to the sidewall as possible. So I'm pushing that overhand knot. That's just a very simple overhand knot. Pushing that down close to the sidewall. And I'm gonna do one more, and notice here how I run that string in the gap that is left, okay, because there is still a little bit of gap. So I'm running that string around, doing another overhand knot, and then smushing it all together. So now I've got this big, ugly knot that has taken up all the space left. And boom, look how pretty that is. Nice and even, straightforward. We got ourselves a top string. Congrats. We are 1 1/5-ish of the way done.